Hello chess friends and welcome to Zadov's chess channel and welcome to the Opera Euro Rapid Chess Tournament in 2021. We're again in the final stage, of course. It's the battle between Magnus Carlsen and Wesley. So yesterday's match game was really incredible. After the day one, the result was equal. Magnus Carlsen won one game. Wesley also won one game. And the cool part about Wesley's game was that he mentioned in the interview afterwards that he used basically his chessable opening preparations, which he's of course trying to teach some other players, try to teach some beginners. And I think this opening line against the Sicilian is very aggressive. And again, now in the game one of the super match of the day two, we'll see also this chessable Wesley variation. I couldn't actually cover yesterday's game, the winning game by Wesley, so I'm sorry about that, but there is a good reason behind that, because I was starting to do something on YouTube, and I then started to watch some other clips, and then this video popped up on YouTube. It was about the movie Goodfellas, and then I started to watch some clips about the movie Goodfellas, and then I simply watched the whole movie. Was a little bit tired, and afterwards, so it was Robert De Niro's fault that I couldn't watch. I couldn't cover this very cool super final, this second game, the second decisive game played by Wesley. So let's check out now the first game from the day two. It was again a very incredible game with some great and sharp tactics. Be prepared, again, some really wild stuff happened. So here e4 played by Wesley. So we have c5 by Magnus, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5, the so-called Rossolimo Neshmetinov attack, trying to provoke weaknesses, of course, by taking the knight, and then black would always have the pawn structure, this double pawn structure on the c file. We have e6. Magnus' idea is, of course, to wait a little bit, not challenging the bishop with a6. When you play the move a6, then you put many pawns on light squares. He's trying, of course, to play knight from g to e7, and then he could have this other knight in order to recapture again on c6, and then he wouldn't have the messed up pawn structure around the square c6. So here, Carlsen, we have knight to e7. Now comes this idea, and now Wesley plays his so-called chessable opening preparation with the move c3. He's trying to break through with d4, but these moves have to be prepared. Magnus still has, of course, also opportunities to break in the center, and in my opinion, one of the best ways is simply to meet this idea with the move d5, because I think in this French Sicilian setups, what I mean about the French Sicilian setups is when you play e6 and then c5, you should search, I think, for immediately d5 pawn breakthroughs, and that's exactly, I think, what the engine suggests here. And the engine really left this line: e takes d5, knight to d5, and d4. This is, of course, possible now for white to break in the center. The problem about white positional setup is here that with the move c3, with the move c3 preparation to make the move d4, you have taken a natural square for the knight. So it leads a little bit a lack of development here for white, but of course, for gaining some space. So there are good parts of this moves, there are bad parts of this move. After d4, c takes d4, and I think c4 would be one of the most aggressive lines here. Knight to b6, and now white could recapture here on d4, and now queen to c7, and I think this is playable for both sides. What Magnus did here, he's playing a6, which is also good. He wants to force now Wesley to take bishop takes c6, and then knight takes c6, and I think black could have a comfortable game. It wouldn't have the messed up pawn structure, would still have the bishop pair on the board, so it would be a good continuation. Here Wesley plays again his opening prep, his homemade opening prep with bishop to a4, b5, and now bishop to c2, of course developing the bishop on a most aggressive square. Now we're trying d4, and then afterwards we're trying also e5. Then this bishop would be very dangerous on this diagonal. This is now the setup, and you see now also this bishop is attacking towards the king side, so it's really so far a good game, although the evaluation, but it's equal. But I kind of like this opening prep by Wesley. So bishop to b7, we have rook to e1 played by Wesley. He wants, of course, after now potential d5, he could have a great space advantage with the move e5, and this rook and the knight would support this pawn. You would have troubles to develop somehow the dark square bishop. The knight could maybe come here to f5, still could get kicked away with g4 or bishop to f5, going into trades of pieces. So I always like to consider this position to be better a little bit for white, because you have at least the space advantage. You have simply something to build your attack around. After rook to e1, we have rook to c8 played by Magnus, and now a4. This move I really like because Magnus has now, of course, the space advantage on the queen side. He has now gained some space, and one of the best ways to handle, of course, this pawn storm is to break the pawn storm or split the pawn structure. Of course, b takes a4 is not so good. Then you would have 3 isolated pawns, and they could be, of course, a long-term weakness in the continuation of the game. So that's why Magnus proceeded with the move b4. Here we have d4 played by Wesley. So he grabs now the center, c takes d4, c takes d4, and now knight to g6. And I've mentioned in one of my courses on YouTube, if you have followed my series Become a Master in Chess, I've started this series recently. I've talked about a specific topic was about the knights in the opening, and exactly that the thing what happened. I'll show you the link of that video at the end of the video. You can also check it out. What I mentioned in that chess course, it was an online stream. Whenever you see that your opponent has here place the knight on g6, or maybe here on b6. So these are the 4 squares that we're searching. So b6, b3, of course, when we talk from black's perspective, g3 and g6. Whenever you feel this knight there, it's time to attack it with the flank attack. And here, that's exactly what Wesley will do now. After knight to d2, knight to a5, and now comes g3, with preparations to play h4, h5. Because this knight will lose another tempo, will lose some more time. Black will need more time in order to develop. Here, bishop to e7 played by Magnus Carlsen, and now h4. Now Magnus Carlsen, I think, has a good continuation. He has to play maybe the castling. Here black can gain some space further with the move h5, knight to h8, and maybe h6, g6, and I still think this will be playable for Magnus Carlsen, as okay, maybe he has weakened the pawn structure in front of the king on dark squares a little bit, but still this long diagonal is perfectly fine. We still have a bishop, this dark square bishop and the queen, which are protecting, of course, our dark squares, and if necessary, maybe we can even stop it with further f6. What Magnus did here after move h4 is now huge blunder. I'm not sure if that was Magnus Carlsen preparation at home, or did he calculate something, but it was really a bad knight sacrifice, pardon me, bishop sacrifice. Bishop to h4, g takes h4, knight to h4. Okay, you have grabbed some pawns for the piece. The king is naked, but the problem, I think, for Magnus Carlsen is here that Wesley can still bring some more defenders into the game, and that's exactly what Wesley did. Rook to e3. You see now with the move rook to g3, we're protecting the g file. That's the only file, I think, where Magnus could attack the position. Of course, the serious threat is, of course, after f5, e takes f5, queen to h1. It's checkmate because the bishop is very dangerous on the diagonal. But the good thing about Wesley's position is that he has a good setup. His pieces are really compact. He still can protect his e4. So the only way to break through here is a battle around the square e4, and that's what Magnus does. f5 or d5 would be also a possibility. Even as we said, e takes f5, here you lose the game because queen to h1 is checkmate. So here Wesley plays simply rook to g3. He's trying to defend, and now castling played by Magnus. We have knight to f3, attacking the queen, queen to h5, and I think this choice was very good by Wesley to simplify the position, because when the queens are on the board, then maybe we could have some complications. Then black has always some kind of an attacking possibility. Here after queen to d1, bishop to d1. Okay, here d6 played by Magnus, knight to d3, and after f takes e4. Here Wesley can also take on one pawn, and I think this whole attack by Magnus Carlsen is splashed. Nothing special Magnus Carlsen gained, I think, here, and Wesley has really now a comfortable game. So after move knight takes b4, Magnus Carlsen goes now with simple knight to c4. He's trying to get his pieces some kind of active, but now Wesley again plays a grandmaster move, top grandmaster move. a5 paralyzes the whole queen side. d5, of course, is perfectly fine to cement the pawn structure in the center, but now bishop to g4. You see Wesley is playing really natural moves. He still has opportunities to play bishop to e3, keeping the position compact. b3, kicking away the knight. So still many possibilities. We have rook to f6, bishop to g5. Here rook to g6, bishop to h5, and it was Magnus Carlsen's rooks get trapped. A new blunder by the world champion. Rook takes g5, and after rook takes g5 in this position, Magnus Carlsen resigns. So I'm not sure what to say about this game. Really unnecessary tactics. This is, I think, a very well prepared line by Wesley. I think it's a great attack, against the Sicilian, especially against these types of setups. We'll see now what will happen in the continuation of the match game. Magnus has, of course, his chances, but as I said in the beginning of the tournament, it was my feeling. You can check out my first video, my first coverage of this tournament. I mentioned that I have a feeling that Wesley will win this tournament. I'm not sure. We'll see what will happen, but I don't want to say afterwards I told you so. So okay, I think it is a deserved win now so far by Wesley. So as I said, Magnus Carlsen has his chances, and this will be still a tough battle for both of them. So okay, meanwhile you can watch my other commented chess games from this tournament. Here's the link, and you can also check out my other material on my YouTube chess channel. Here's the video, my stream that was this interactive chess course with you, the problems of knights. As I said, we had similar positions in that video, and if you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.